Welcome to the Awake Space Astrology Podcast. I'm Lori Rivers with you, here to help you with some inspiration to get those aspirations out into the world. Well, get ready for August because it's a full moon sandwich. For real, we have August 1st with the Aquarius full moon, and August 30th is the Pisces full moon, and there's just a whole lot else happening in between. It's a wild ride as things kind of spill over. People are kind of done. And if you notice with all of the UAP talk, people aren't really phased. And to be honest, as a political analyst, when I listened to the hearings, I didn't hear anything definitive anyway. Nothing that scientists haven't already postulated. So, it's distraction and people are done. People are tired. We have climate change. It is not to be ignored. And we're going to have to mitigate. There's a lot going on. But what do you do about it? Well, we're going to be talking about that on the podcast. Plus, we're going to be talking about tarot with medium Carrie Wilson. She's got a class coming up, and she's one of my favorite people. I had her as a guest, and I think you'll enjoy that interview. Plus, as always, we're offering the patrons a huge thank you. Every single episode, we welcome our new patrons with a shout out, and my eternal gratitude goes out to them because this podcast comes to you because of my patrons at the Awake Space. If you want to become a patron, you can check out the link in the show notes. And then, of course, we end the show with astrology Q&A. But first, let's talk about August. What's coming up in August? Well, we've got a lot coming up. It's a little wild. We start out with this big old full moon, and it's the beginning of a fulfillment. It's not the end of a fulfillment because it happens in the first decan of Aquarius. So things are going to get shaken and stirred because we have Mercury in opposition to Saturn. We have Mars in a trine with Jupiter. So the energy is going to be big. Things are going to be hot, hot, hot. And we're going to see some interesting things when it comes to supply chain, supply management, crisis management, and there's going to be more war drums, as the powers that be are trying some old playbooks. Don't worry, it will not be World War III. You can ride through this if you can hold your consciousness to yourself. If you're busy getting caught up in the outrage online, if you're getting caught up in internet fights, well, you're not really being effective. There's other things we can do besides argue online. You can show up in your local areas. You can find groups that align with you, not necessarily like minds, but like-hearted people who are aligned in a singular mission. This is a great full moon to find your people and to rally around a common aim. We will see more issues with labor. Well, and it appears UPS did not strike. I don't mind being wrong once in a while, guys. Remember, I have an 87% accuracy rating. I'm okay with that. But we do see transportation disrupted, and that was something I had in the forecast with yellow trucking going under. That's going to cause some supply chain issues, although I think people are fairly ready for it, and hopefully other companies pick up the shipping, but we can expect some delays throughout the month of August. So without further ado, let me get into the astrology in the next segment, and I'll talk about what you can do for you to come to center, bring your energy in, and find the most effective way of moving through this pretty choppy cosmic tide. All right. We've got a pretty bumpy August. We start off the month with a full moon in Aquarius, and then, of course, we have the North Node still in square to Pluto. So things are just going to be intense as we move through really historic times. We're at a time where there's a lot of choices that have to be made. And are the people making decisions for us on our behalf, our elected officials, the CEOs, the non-elected officials. Are they making the right decisions? Well, apparently not right now. And so we're moving into a crisis point where humanity is going to have to act. August 2nd, the moon will be square Jupiter. That will be a pretty intense day. August 2nd, Mercury is also opposite Saturn retrograde. So I'm going to say there's going to be supply chain disruptions. We're going to see maybe some interesting accidents. We could see marine accidents. We could see issues with harvests. Again, that food crisis I predicted for 2023 is in full swing. And a lot of you are gardening because of it. I'm very proud of that. I'm so proud that you guys are taking as much into your own hands as is possible, because that's all we can do. We can only do what we can do. We can't do anything about things outside of our control. So we've got to bring our attention inside and ground as much as possible so we can make the best decision. I can't say good decisions because sometimes there isn't a good decision to make. Sometimes we can just make the best of what's right in front of us. August 4th, let's see. Mercury's already in Virgo. So let's see. We've got Mercury in Virgo. It's opposing Saturn. Then we have Mercury opposite Saturn. On the 2nd, I messed up that slide. What have I got on those days? Well, never mind. We've got the new moon in Leo on the 16th, and we've got the sun ingressing into Virgo on the 23rd. Mars enters Libra on the 27th. That should be very interesting. Anytime we have Mars or any planet ingressing into another sign. So the end of the month is a little bit wild. Uranus stations retrograde on the 28th. And on the 30th, we have the full moon in Pisces conjunct Saturn retrograde. That's what's up on deck in August. It's a pretty wild month. As always, patrons who get the horoscopes get my month ahead forecast at the beginning of the month. It won't be out on the 1st of August, but it'll be up before the end of the first week. So we'll probably get it out by the 2nd. We'll see what happens, but you'll get my monthly predictions where I give you what to expect in the headlines for each of the lunations as the moon transits through the signs. Also, I don't know if you guys know, I have a YouTube channel. This is up on it, and we have beginning astrology videos. So if you've been wondering how to find your transits or what they are, you can go look on my beginning astrology playlist, and you can learn all about your natal chart, if you're in your Saturn return, what interceptions are, how to identify things in the birth chart, and of course, an introduction to transits. These are just very basic videos that give you a visual walkthrough. There's even moving arrows and circles to help point out the information. This is just to help give you a good baseline education on what is actual astrology, real astrology, instead of some of the pop stuff we see here on the interwebs. I keep getting asked about the difference between anxious thoughts and intuition, and I answered that at the end of the last podcast, but I really want to reiterate. If you are getting anxious thoughts or you're having really troubling dreams, that's not necessarily prescience. It means you're tuning into the collective. You're feeling the collective fear, the collective unrest, the collective worry. It doesn't mean that these things are going to happen necessarily. Okay, there's a difference. Intuition doesn't really have feelings associated with it. Carrie and I talk about that in our interview later in the podcast. It's important to learn how to navigate your instinct, where you're tuning into the collective, you're looking for danger, you're looking at how to stay secure, and your connection with your higher self, or the all that is, spirit, source, God, goddess, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you believe, as long as you know what you believe, and that's what matters most, is you have to know how you believe and why. We talked a lot about that today. It's Sunday, the 29th, as I record this. So also got new glasses coming up tomorrow, Monday, as this podcast comes out. So this is the last time, hopefully, you see these suckers, and I'll be able to see better. So expect a lot more writing coming out of me. That's exciting. I won't get exhausted by it as fast. So getting my 2025 correction back instead of sitting at 2040. For those of you with bad eyes, you know what I'm talking about. When it comes to navigating this full moon, it can be very illuminating. It can be very innovative. It can be expansive. This will be a time to really tune into that higher guidance, that higher self, that higher mind. It isn't a time to get stuck in the past. You're going to get yeeted right out of it. You want to ground into who you are, be your most authentic self, and allow the illumination to come in. A lot of you might be getting downloads. Remember, the quality at a high level is never fear-driven. It's never doom-saying. It's never that. It is always about how to navigate wherever you're at, how to come into center. There will always be an emphasis on you being a lovable and loved being. You will always be appreciated for what you're doing. Your guidance is never critical. Your guidance, you might interpret it as sarcasm sometimes, especially if you're sarcastic, but your guidance is never in judgment of you. It's never waiting for you to get with it. You're never being punished by your guides with life lessons. None of that. That is a resistance pattern. And I spoke about resistance during the full moon ceremony before we started and recorded that. I'll be getting that out to Mystery School and above in the Patreon because I thought it was a great explanation. But to just give a recap, resistance isn't something you want to judge. We build up strategies from the time we're babies on how to navigate life. And let's say you're a sensitive baby and somebody accidentally drops something and there's a loud sound and you jump and you develop a self-defensive posture. Oh, it's a winning strategy because somebody picks you up. And so you employ that strategy through life, right? Or maybe you shut down and you get really quiet. We have lots of strategies. We use those over and over and over and over in life because they worked once or twice, right? And so when we go to grow and have change, and we are in a vast amount of time of change right now, and look at how people are resisting it. They want to be back at normal. They want to just keep acting like we don't have COVID. We don't have climate change. We don't have economic instability. People are acting like, talk about looking at spiritual people like we're delusional, but you have all these people who want their normal back when their normal was really an illusion. It was an illusion, and they're refusing to course correct and wear masks and what have you. And if you're a spiritual person and you don't believe in wearing masks, I want to correct you on that. There is no way any single human being can hold their consciousness in such a tight configuration that they can make themselves impervious to a virus. You slip just a little bit and you're going to get there. So masking up doesn't hurt. You wear shoes. Wear a mask. Okay. Yes, you can breathe. I'm claustrophobic and I can wear a mask. So just saying. Alrighty. I'm going to keep this pretty short. This isn't going to be a long podcast. I ran a very lengthy meditation and it was very soothing energy and I really want to go to bed. So I'm going to do some patron shout outs and then we will move on to Miss Carrie Wilson's fabulous interview. We had so much fun talking about intuition and tarot and what it's like to be a teacher of spiritual subjects. And I think you'll really enjoy our interview. And if you check out the show notes, you can see how you can join Carrie's class coming up very, very soon. It's starting in the first week of August. So you'll want to jump on that, my friends. Alrighty, let's do some patron shout outs. It's my favorite part of the podcast. It's patron shout outs. All right. Our brand new patrons are Patricia, Nikki, Courtney, Ariana, Mary Frances, Patricia, Aaron, Jesse, Cheyenne, Crystal, Allie, Beth, Louisa, Alyssa, Paola, Superplin, Irene, Andrea, Preeti, Judith, David, Jennifer, Lindsay, Anna, Shayna, Marie, Letitia, Safia, Lauren, Jennifer, Anna, Imelda, and Erica. Thank you all for being patrons. I have a new feature in the Patreon app, and I can make lounges based on people's tiers. I get up to 3 lounges, and so I'm trying to decide how I'm going to use that. That might be fun. Of course, we'll still keep our Discord because we do fun things like game nights, and every Friday night we're going to play games in the Discord. There's everything from card games to putt-putt golf. They're all virtual, but it's a great time to just build a community and enjoy, and I get a little social time in. I'm not going to be teaching anything there. It's just having fun. Remember, I got a Gemini Venus and a Sag Mars. I need to play a little bit now and then to keep me fueled and going as I talk about some of the bigger energies that we have to deal with. As always, without patrons, there is no me. So you have my ultimate gratitude, and that is, I can't say it strongly enough. You know, that there's so many of you who want to hear what I have to say, and I think you'll all be very excited with what comes up when I get these new glasses going and I can actually write and get all the things I wanted done. And thank you to all of you who have kind of put up with my low energy. Those of you who've been with me forever and a day, you know that you've probably noticed it's been a little crunchy over in my direction. I can't help it. I got Pluto opposite my Sun and my Mercury right now. But one of the solutions is getting those new glasses. And I know I keep talking about it, but I couldn't be more excited because being able to see what opens up avenues, not just for me, but for you. And I really can feel like I'm serving you in the best possible way. So thank you, patrons. Thank you. Now we're going to listen to Miss Carrie, and then I'm going to answer some astrology Q&A. Oh, I have one of my favorite people in the world here today. Medium Carrie Wilson joins us. And where are you at? I'm going to let you plug that shop you work at.
Oh, I'm at Romarin Ekforbo in Oxford, Alabama. It's going to be, I'm butchering it. I'm positive of it because it sounds completely different in French, but in Alabamian, it is Romarin Ekforbo.
I love that. Now, you are a evidentiary medium.
Evidential psychic medium.
Sorry. Evidential yes. Psychic medium. So let's talk about that for a minute. What does that mean?
Well, an evidential medium is, because mediumship is, I don't know, I hate to say it's like above par, but it is above par because the evidential medium has had special training to set up a repertoire, if you will, with spirit that the information you get is evidence-based. So, in other words, number one, it's stuff that there's no way that I could know, but it's also things like names, dates, anniversaries, birthdays, shared memories, hobbies, but it's not limited to that. Another part of it is to prove the continuation of life after so-called death, but also to kind of call me to carpet to prove that I'm connected with your loved one in spirit.
Right.
So that's it.
Yeah. Now, a couple of my apprentice astrologers studied with you in your beginning and intermediate evidentiary mediumship. Evidential. There we go. Oh my God, Lori, you can talk. Anyway, my Mercury is very overstimulated today. Okay. Anyway, I was very excited they took that with you because we set up credibility at the beginning of an astrology reading, but also I wanted them to trust their intuition. How has that helped you in your personal life outside of, you do this for a living?
Well, Well, it's kind of like I tell the students, or tell anybody who has a session with me if it comes up, right? Um, the more you use your intuition, the more you listen to your intuition, the more it's going to grow. It also helps you when you're using your intuition, learn to discern the difference between what is anxious and what is actual intuition, right? So I may go out here to turn and I may hear, don't turn right, don't turn right. It's real heady and real fast and kind of fear based. And if you don't sort of kind of slow down, you're going to be overwhelmed with fear. Whereas if you're hearing, don't turn right, don't turn right, and it's accompanied by a feeling in your gut and just this knowing or using the other clairs, then you know it's intuition. So it can help in that way in opening you up to spirit and your guides, but also just your higher self in general. So there's just different ways like that, it can help out.
I love that. Now, you also use cards in your reading. I've had many readings with Carrie. She is spookily accurate, which is very funny. The last reading, telling me to cut my hair because I look like a hippie. That was such great evidence because I knew exactly who it was.
And I think that was just sort of random. Wasn't it supposed to be like a psychic reading and then had spirit come in?
It was funny. But so when you're using cards, how is that the same or different? Explain how is it the same or different from evidential mediumship?
Okay. Okay, so the way my mentor taught me, because my basis in evidential mediumship started with spiritualism, which a lot of people don't realize that when you use words like spiritualist or spiritualism, it's an actual religion, right?
Yes.
So that's my basis of it. Well, in spiritualism, when you do mediumship, and the way my mentor taught me is your hands better not be on a deck of fucking cards at all. Because you do not use tools to connect with spirit. That is not evidential mediumship. Now, of course, you move and you change and you have different opinions as you go on your journey. I still do not use cards at all for mediumship. But when I'm doing a reading, what has started happening over the years is sometimes I will hear grandma or whoever talking, giving me information. So it can kind of blend. So it's my intuition, because the beauty, and this goes along with the tarot class I'm going to be teaching. The beauty of tarot, right, is knowing the meaning of the cards, using your intuition and the science of it, as well as blurring it all together to be able to create magic, basically, right?
Absolutely.
So you incorporate all of that, and that's how, it comes. I don't know. I'm going to say it, whatever. I don't know how I'm so accurate, and I'm not trying to be boastful. I don't know.
It's not bragging to know you're good at something, Carrie. And you're very good. I'm very, very picky about who I go to. So,
well, thank you so much.
Yeah. You're damn accurate, which I appreciate.
I'm starting to, again, it's especially in the South, you're taught to, especially in the South, and as women, you're taught to not say you're proud of yourself or that I'm good at this, or especially if you're going to beat the boys out, right? So I'm learning even that in my journey is, yes, I'm damn good at what I do. It's not in a braggadocious way, but yes, I'm good at what I do, and that even with the students in the mediumship class, it's like I tell them, as you go along in your day-to-day journey, you're going to learn stuff in your mediumship journey as well that you're going to notice coincides with what's going on in your real life. So it's a beautiful experience once you decide to dip your toe in all of it.
Absolutely. the same thing happens when you read astrology charts as
Yeah.
well. Like half the time we're like, oh, well, I was just giving myself the advice I needed that day.
Yeah.
Like, damn it,
Yeah.
So, tarot was my gateway.
Oh, really?
It was. I was 18 and it scared the crap out of me because
Oh,
I didn't know I didn't know anything about being intuitive or psychic.
yeah.
And, yeah, it scared the living bejesus out of me.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. I think,
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
tarot is their stepping stone, because that's how I started out, was through tarot. And then the rest of it just sort of unfolded, and it's like, okay, bitch, get ready, let's go. And then that's how, I was off to the races, and sort of haven't stopped since,
It's a great place to start and learn how to trust it. Now, again, I didn't have a mentor at that time. I was in college and I was, a lot of metaphysical things were happening and spooky stuff. And I was like, and I moved to playing cards, believe it or not, from there, because even though it scared me, I was like, wow, I'm getting this right. I want a challenge. And so I moved to playing cards because it was a little more challenging. I have a Sag Mars. I always need that next thing. But I think it's important to learn as many modalities as we can.
Yeah.
A little bit, enough. Not enough to be dangerous, but enough to be familiar, because it just builds different skill sets in the brain, And so with you teaching tarot coming up, now when does that class start?
It starts August 6th. It's going to be every Sunday until October 1st, but it starts August 6th.
Nice. I love that.
I'm very, very excited. I love tarot, and we're going to kick off with the history of tarot, which is, what I know as, is in my research as the history of tarot. So I'm very, very, very excited about all of it.
I love that. And people don't have to have any knowledge about tarot. They don't have to have any
all
skill level.
Are encouraged, that kind of thing. Because, not everybody, you don't wake up just knowing this shit. You know what I mean?
No,
so
exactly.
everybody has to start somewhere.
Right.
I know I can seem like a bit of an asshole. I'm kidding.
Oh, I don't think so at all, honey. You are one of the kindest, sweetest people I have ever known. No trash talking yourself on my show. Now,
go ahead. I mean it in like the best of ways, though. Because like in the mediumship class, even the first ones, I would tell them like, okay, we're going to stick to 2 hours. And then I'd get so passionate, and they seemed so passionate about what they was learning. Next thing I know, we'd be sitting there for 3 hours, and I'm like, okay, we cannot do this shit anymore. Like, I can't go for 3 hours. I have other things to do. But you get in it, and you get so passionate.
No, I know.
Everybody's laughing and cracking up, and and it's raising the vibration. And
loved it.
Oh, it's
all
amazing.
I heard through both of those classes, Miss Carrie this, Miss Carrie that. We love Miss Carrie. Oh my God, they loved it. They love you. And so you are a brilliant teacher. And I was so excited when they're like, we want to do that class. I'm like, yes. Because even though in astrology there is method, okay, and we stick to the method, right? You still have to decipher which way things are going in the interpretation, because each planet is like a bucket list of like a billion things, and each house is a bucket full of a billion things, and intuition comes into which direction does it go.
Right.
And it is crazy making as a beginning professional astrologer as you're preparing the chart. Are you right? Are you right? And you don't tend to see people after a natal reading unless you're doing consultations later. And they're getting there. They're going to be doing that soon. And so taking your class, I was like, that's perfect. This is really going to help you dig in and trust that intuition. And I wanted them to study with somebody besides me too. You need a lot of different teachers,
Yeah, absolutely.
And so... And I was like, they were like, what do you think? I'm like, go study with Carrie.
I know.
Been bugging her to teach.
I was not that, and it's like I told him at the beginning, because I just call it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was very much, if I didn't think you had it, you would not be
Mm-hmm.
here. I'm not just going to
Yes.
take your money if I don't think you have it.
Right.
And
Right.
so when I say that they surprised me in the way of, they just soared.
Yeah.
They just fucking soared, and then they
Yeah.
surprised themselves because they're getting
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm getting the name Henry, or I'm getting, and
Mm-hmm.
they're like, oh, like, I don't know how I knew that, or like one of them, she was remote viewing and didn't even realize she was doing it. Like, she's
Wow.
painting a whole seascape in her mind. I'm like, you realize you're remote viewing, right? She's like, what is
Right.
that? You
Right.
know, so they were amazing to teach and amazing to watch. You know, again, that's why we ended up sitting there for like 3 hours. You know,
No.
so it was really cool.
When you have a class full of students like that, though, it's amazing. I've got 2 classes going on right now that I've been going over the time every single class because they're just soaking it up, and
Yeah,
it's so fun as a teacher, you know.
yeah.
Um,
Do you find that when you're teaching, you like, you may have like a whole list written out of like, this is what we're touching on, but they fucking surprise you every time, because you'll have this whole agenda and then somebody will come out with left field with a question that's 2 weeks advanced, and it's like,
yeah.
okay, you're blowing my shit out of the water. I'm gonna have
I
to
did
like,
that. Yeah. I've
I'm gonna
so
be
screwed up
repeating
my own,
myself.
yeah, I've screwed up my curriculums 3 ways from Sunday just because both groups, like the beginning group and the intermediate group, are both so good.
Yes.
And I've been having so much fun. And I'm like, screw the curriculum at this point, just
Yeah.
because they're so hungry. And I think it's important, you
Yeah.
know, and it's gratifying, right? I mean,
It is, because you're getting to. Well, it's like I told them one time, like, it's almost like they're your, like, you're my lineage. Like,
yes,
that's the
I
only way
told
I
them
know
the
how to
same
put
thing.
it. You are
No,
my
it's
lineage.
true. Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, so,
yeah.
you know, go
Mm-hmm.
go forth and
Mm-hmm.
prosper. You know, but
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
at it, and I'm
yeah.
always here, and you know, all of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
it's
well,
really,
we do, and proper training in metaphysics, we do have lineage,
yeah,
you know, and
yeah,
they are our prodigies. You know, it's like raising kids. You
yeah.
know, in a lot of ways, we're inheriting. I just came up with a new 8th house interpretation because,
Oh,
I haven't seen my last living mentor. I know I've gotten to that age. It's like my
oh
last
gosh,
living mentor um, in metaphysics and energetical healing and soul embodiment. So
yeah,
deep esoteric stuff. It's like time pulled us apart. It was never a falling out,
yeah,
right? It's just like 2017, things just went whew,
yeah.
and we came back together very recently. And I'm going up. In fact, I'm taking Casey with me. I
Cool.
am assuming the mantle and helping move that work forward. And I had my solar return is an 8th house return. And I've been looking at it for months before we reconnected. And I'm like, well, my parents could kick it, you know,
Yeah,
they're old, you know, and I was like, but I don't think that's it. And I was like, I'll obviously transformational happen. Okay, great. And then the reconnection, and I was like, I'm inheriting the mantle of my teacher.
yeah,
And so that is the lineage. As a teacher, you're giving an inheritance to your students to multiply it as an investment with interest, 8th
yeah.
house, to carry forward. And that was, I love that we never stop understanding things.
Yeah,
But
you never stop learning and growing, and it's
yeah,
great. Even
yeah.
though a smart lady once told me that, you know, I wish you all the growth in the world. It's not necessarily a good thing. A very wise woman once told me that. I wonder who she was.
Yeah, there's a few really good blessings that aren't really blessings. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
well,
You're
Scorpio
right.
rising. But so let's talk tarot a little bit. Like, you've got some
Alright.
cards on you. What are your favorite decks? Like, let's just have some fun with this. What are
Okay,
your
listen,
favorite decks?
this is gonna sound terrible. I collect all kinds of decks, right?
Mhm.
This is one of my favorites. It's called This Might Hurt Tarot. Yeah, yeah. Right after we talk about growth, but the imagery on it is beautiful. The cards are very they slide very well. All
Oh,
that.
nice.
Here's the fun
Yeah,
thing.
beautiful.
The funny thing. I collect all these decks. I read with one.
Yeah.
I read with Rider Waite. That's it. I read with Rider Waite because it's my tried and true.
Yes.
It's the one that I find I'm the most accurate at.
Yep.
It's the one that I'm telling people in the course that they need.
Yeah.
If you get the larger Rider Waite, it's gonna be about this size, probably bigger, and it's gonna be hard to shuffle.
Yep.
But if you get the Smith Waite Centennial,
Yep.
it's gonna be this size.
That's what I
Also,
learned on. Yeah. I think it's a good deck.
Yeah, well, and two, the Smith Waite Centennial Tarot deck, it comes in a 10, but it's also important to me because Pixie, and any other time when I went nervous, I could remember her name. She helped create the deck with Waite. Well, it wasn't until 2001 that she actually got credit for her help with this deck. So it's really important to me to, give back and honor her in that way, because if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have the beautiful images and, all that we have.
Yes.
Yeah, so,
yes. Well, go figure. Women not
decks.
getting credit for their work. That's shocking.
Yeah, and she signed a contract with him or whatever, but I'm probably not going to be absolutely correct on it, but I think she got like $30 or something
Probably.
for the imagery, and then like that was it. But I think it might have been Llewellyn decided to honor her and come out with the Smith Waite tarot deck. So that's always my go-to.
That. Llewellyn's really good about stuff like that. I like Llewellyn Press. Their books were some of my first back in the day.
Oh yeah,
they tend to
really
be a
good.
little
now, don't
progressive.
quote me on it because I can't remember it for sure if it was Llewellyn or not. But it was one of those companies like that decided to honor her, and it was like, hell yeah, finally, she gets some recognition. So Pamela Coleman Smith, that's her name.
There we go. Boom,
Took
you got it.
Right.
So you're going to teach the history and then the meaning of the cards, I'm sure, and there's probably some practice.
Yeah, it's a 9-week course,
Nice.
Which I know seems kind of intensive, but it is what it is.
I don't think you can do a short form for some of the beginner work, though.
You can't, and it'll be just going. It'll be going over the majors. The very first class is going to be the history of tarot. I might touch on a little bit of the symbolism that's in the cards. And then week 2 through 9 is going to be 3 majors per class. If you want to, you can contact me. So say like, I don't know, say you're a reader or whatever, again, because all levels are encouraged, and say you have an issue with the Justice card, and it's going to be on week 4, but you don't want to take the whole class. You just want to take the one class with Justice in it. Well, for $75 for that one class, you can take that class.
That's brilliant.
But I love that. I was so nervous the other day when I dropped it on Discord that I didn't put that in there.
Well,
but yeah.
You know what? Put it in this Sunday. So Carrie's talking about the Awake Space Discord that goes with my Patreon. And every Sunday I let people drop their business or social media links so we can support each other. So do it this week. Because it's, and you can do it next week too, right? Or is that the day of the class? I'm trying to remember.
I'm still going to have it open.
Okay.
Because, if you want to go ahead and get in or whatever, I'm still going to have sign up open. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. We'll have all of this information in the show notes for everybody too. So make sure you have.
It is going to be recorded because I already have people signed up. They're like, well, I'm going to miss the first class. And I'm like, I promise it will be recorded. I'm going to put it on a private playlist on YouTube and then send it. I'll mail it out to you or email it out to you and all that. So,
I love that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just going to say it now. It is a modern era. We record our classes because when we can, at a certain point, edit those down into, online classes.
Yeah,
Even
absolutely.
though I know, because I've been teaching online various subjects since 2009, that 87% of people do not finish the online class.
Oh, wow.
And as a teacher, that ticks me off. It's not about the money. I want the information out there. And I'm like, finish it.
Right.
Finish it. Just do it.
Speaking of that, I don't know. I'm sure that you have listeners in the South and the Alabama area or whatever. I can't be the only one, but August 19th, we're having a tarot readers meetup here at Romarin. It's Romarin et Corbeau. It's probably really hard to spell, but just look up Metaphysical Shop in Oxford, Alabama.
Well, I'll get that. I'll get that in the show notes. So email me the information.
And so because I'll be leading it. So part of the purpose is a place where other tarot readers can come together and talk and go over what their meaning is and stuff like that. Because even as you do tarot, you start learning that people aren't as spiritual as they fucking make it out to be, which I know sounds horrible and judgmental. But they don't want to share knowledge, and they don't want to share this is the way I do it, or this is my meaning, and it can become very catty. And in that, if you are in the South and a solo practitioner or, reader of tarot, you don't have anybody else to talk to.
Right.
So, Aubrey, the owner's opening the space up, for us to all, get together. So I'm hoping we have a great turnout and it's lots of fun.
I love that. Well, and we need it going forward. And a lot of that competitiveness, and it's in a lot of spaces in the so-called spiritual community where basically people have not unpacked and deconstructed patriarchy. It hurts us. It does not help us, because,
it doesn't help at all.
If one person's doing better, everybody does better, and we can help. Now, there's certain things like there's trade secrets. You're not gonna give away everything,
right?
Because that is your livelihood, right. But
well,
at the same time, you can still talk shop.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I'm also a firm believer in. And I don't care. This might sound shitty, but it's also what I believe. If I have went through the hardships and learned the lessons of something I'm supposed to learn, then there's a good chance that along the way in your reading journey that you're supposed to learn it on your own too. And if I feel like you're supposed to learn it on your own too, if I intuitively feel that, then I'm not going to share it with you. It's not because I'm being an asshole because I want to help everybody, but some things you're supposed to come to that conclusion on your own.
That was a big part of my metaphysical training. Because when I first started, and I was like 29, when I started studying with Thomas, I was already an astrologer. At that point, I'd figured out I was psychic, and didn't know what to do with it because I was so open. So I was just like, the way my teacher described me was like, I was, how they take the shells off those eggs on TikTok?
Yeah.
And that's what my teacher said during a channeling was, you're like an egg where the shell has been removed, but the albumin is intact. Meaning I was life had just knocked the shell away, and you can be oversensitive, which is not a great thing. And so the study was to kind of put Humpty Dumpty back together again. Yeah. But I was in a healing session, a group healing session, and a woman was experiencing something I was resonating with pain-wise. And I went to make her feel better. Yeah. Right? Energetically. And I got yelled at. Believe me, teachers back in the day were not as nice as we are.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. And he yelled at me and said, how dare you rob her of her pain? Ooh. That is her experience. how dare you? And I was like, whoa, I'm just trying to help. And he goes, no, you're just trying to make yourself feel better. And that is selfish. And I was like,
oh, do you need some ointment for that burn?
right? Was I humbled? And you know what? He was so right. And that I'm just trying to help is so codependent. And it's you trying to make yourself feel better. And so it doesn't mean we don't ever help anybody, but she wasn't going to make any progress if I tried to take it away and take it on. And it was hurting me to do it. So you're right. Sometimes people just have to have their experiences, you know, and spirituality ain't for suckers.
That's ain't that the truth? Yes, ma'am, that's the truth. This shit is rough sometimes.
It is. Yeah.
Sleepless nights and
dark nights of the soul, getting out the other side, thinking, I nailed it, doing it again.
And then falling flat on your face. It's like, motherfucker, what just happened?
Right.
Apparently I needed my ass brought down to the ground.
Right.
You know, I got apparently.
Right. Apparently I needed humbling. Because you go, look at me, punk. But I always tell people there isn't a spiritual teacher on the planet worth their salt that hasn't walked through the fires of hell and come through the other side.
Yep. I would agree. And I just want to touch on this real quick because one thing I am learning is, okay, so at the beginning of the show, I said I was starting to basically step in my power more in, yes, I'm a damn good reader. All these years I've sort of not said that and stuff because there's still, even though I've moved away from certain religions, like, you know, the whole Southern Baptist, I mean, I'm sure it's Alabama, you can put it together.
Right.
But just recently, within like the last 3 weeks, I realized that this whole time I've been waiting on Spirit to touch me like God's supposed to if we come, you know, get too big or sin or whatever, however you want to put it. And so it was like, oh, wow. I didn't realize I was carrying that over into my mediumship and how at core it is. So my whole point of saying that is even people who think they have, not that I think I have it all together, but even people who are readers and they're great and they're spot on, there's still always something else to learn. There's still always a lesson. Well, not lessons. I don't necessarily like calling them lessons.
We're always growing. You're always growing. Yeah. Until you die. Until the day you die. I mean, even I was talking to my mentor's wife, who's my soul sister, and we are so excited to be able to be back in contact. You know, she was like, oh, he just discovered this new technique that he's been working on for 30 years. He finally figured it out, you know, and he's learned this and he's 76 years old.
Oh, wow.
You are always learning. And this idea, and it comes really, I think, from it's cultural, but also in Christianity. And I'm not Christianity bashing. I'm just saying this is where it came from. Yeah. The idea that like the priest, if we go back to the Middle Ages, you know, is the intermediary for God and therefore anointed, smacking my mic, and therefore perfect or a paragon.
Yeah.
And so people will put that into spirituality. And a lot of those big names, you only see, there's very few who are very transparent.
Yeah.
So, and I have a friend who worked in that industry, in the personal development and spiritual industry as a personal trainer. And he saw everybody behind the scenes. And he's like, oh yeah, they act all like, on stage. And then behind, they're swearing, cursing, they fart like anybody else.
Yeah.
And I think moving forward, we need teachers like you and me who are transparent.
Yeah. I try to be as authentic as I can, you know, like, it's not exactly what you see is what you get, you know. I may stop the recording and just be like, oh my God, I'm so tired. That was so much, you know, or get off and like, complain like, oh shit, I'm late on dinner, and you know, just like the next person.
Yeah.
But while I'm there and while I'm present, I'm very
Yes.
much being me, which is Carrie who cusses, Carrie who's dirty minded, Carrie who, if I don't know something, I will tell you I don't fucking know it, but we will
Right.
learn together, you know.
Exactly.
Because even with all my years of training and knowing what the hell I'm doing, you can still hit me with a question. And I'm like, I don't fucking know, man, but we will learn
Right.
together. I will go to
Right.
somebody and we will find the answer because I have that thirst for knowledge too. And that's something else that these
100%.
classes bring up is there's this relearning that happens. And it's like, oh, okay. And then I can start to incorporate that to my reading. So it's like, you know, it's a win for me too, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, I'm with you. I love teaching because it keeps the passion alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, especially, you know, yeah. I love that. Hey, you want to pull cards for each other?
Sure, absolutely.
I'm going to show
you have
my
a
new
particular
deck.
topic or focus? Look, I got to get something to drink because I'm parched.
You're parched. Here, we'll take a drink. We'll take a drink break. Hang on. Coffee.
There you go.
I did not start out my day with coffee today, and that was not good.
Oh,
so
God.
let's see, what would be, I don't know, topic or focus? Well, what does our audience collectively need to know?
Oh, okay. I got you.
This is coming out before the full moon. So what does our audience need to collectively know to navigate the full moon? And I've got my new deck.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, number one, I can tell you something, and it's going to seem so like typical, but I can tell you because everything from the minute I work is to be given away. That's including how the cards shuffle, and so they're trying to kick out on me. That tells me that collectively, there's some people need to really get their head out of their ass and find some direction, but also sort of start to prepare for change. And I just heard position and planning. So if there's those things that you've been putting on, try not to be hasty in going into them. Position and plan. I don't give a shit if it's a piece of paper that says A, B, C, D, whatever. The first card I've drawn here is the Four of Swords. With the four, you incorporate numerology. It's about stability, right? Swords is those thoughts. So you need to bring some stability to your thoughts, but it's also about rest and relaxation. Take your time. If you look in the corner of the card right here, this is the Three of Swords. Yeah? Three of Swords is, heartbreak, but it's also communication. Communicate those thoughts that are driving you crazy. That way you can put your mind at rest. Quit holding all that shit in. What better way to welcome the full moon than to get some of this shit out? Even if it's sitting on your front porch with a candle and a piece of paper and then burning it after.
Safely burn it.
Safely.
Yes,
Safely.
We just have to say that because we're
safely. Fire safety and common sense is your friend, folks. Then the next one is the Tower. Now, I will go ahead and tell you the Tower is my least favorite card in the whole fucking deck. I have my own reasons why and my own personal shit with it. But in that, some people are going to have to make necessary changes in their lives. Yes, other people describe the Tower as this violent motion and the carpet getting ripped up under you, but they forget the part about the universe or spirit or God or whoever you believe in has tried to tell your fucking ass to move 50 million times and you've not moved. So they're going to take action on that, and necessary change is going to happen. Now, in that, I'm being a little spicy. Okay, if I'll be a little spicy, it also means that some of y'all may actually, you may get a little something. I want, read between the lines there because it's a very phallic symbol, all that other good stuff.
Wah, wah.
Right?
That's what I call it. Wah, wah.
Yeah, there you go. And then sort of the last card here is it's the King of Wands. King is very authoritative. He has he has control of his passions and what he wants, that lust for life. In that, I also read directionally, he's looking backwards, and that stop looking backwards. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot go backwards to them tower moments. You have to it's one of those get busy living or, get busy not. One of the two. It's time to shit or get off the pot. But put all your energy in to getting your shit together where things can be stable, where your thoughts, feelings, emotions, all that shit can be stable, even though swords isn't emotions, but whatever. That way you can have that authority in directions in your life, and especially what you want to do as you go forward. So,
boom.
Yeah.
That's so funny because that really correlates what I'm going to be talking about with that full moon that starts us off on August. It very much correlates to that energy astrologically.
What full moon is it?
It's the Aquarius full moon, and it's square Jupiter. Okay. And Jupiter would be very much like the king of wands. And that square, we are collectively facing a tower moment as a species.
Yeah.
And it's just going to keep, we missed some glorious opportunities, but we are also avoiding some worst case scenarios. So I saw a little bit of hope today, because it looks like the administration is addressing climate change even this much, because that's what we're facing. As you well know, the heat you guys have been suffering in Alabama has been unreal. But so that was there. I kind of like the tower. I used to hate the tower because my life was a walking tower for the first 35 years. Yeah. At 54, I see it differently. I see it more like Pluto taking away what doesn't serve us, that can hurt like hell if you're not prepared to let go, because it can be part of your identity.
Yeah.
To
me, one of the biggest things to remember with the tower or tower moments in general is don't resist the fucking change. If you resist the change, it's going to hurt like a bitch. But if you just try your best to, all right, we're going to just go with this shit and see what happens, you can make it a little bit easier. But if you resist, it's going to be a motherfucker.
Because that's what the pain is the resistance to what's going on. Yeah. And that's why I equate the tower with Pluto, because it's going to go away. Trying to hang on to something that's falling apart is a good way to get your hand smashed, or worse. And so, yeah. All right. This is my Call of Gaia deck. Yeah, this is my Call of Gaia deck that I've been working on forever. And,
you actually got it?
Well, kind of. This is the prototype. We're going to be shrinking the cards because to keep the cost down, because it comes with a mat as the learning tool, and then I'm creating an oracle guide for it. So it's a way to learn astrology about why you're embodied in this life, how you're embodied in this life, but there'll also be an oracle because these are just so beautiful. Hang on. We don't do reversals in this deck. There's no need. But anyway, let's see. What does everybody need to know? The art is beautiful. It was done by Taryn Dufault. She did a beautiful job on the design. Alrighty. All right. Taurus. Now, I don't have a lot of light here. Hang on. Let's see. There we go.
Oh,
you see that beautiful? Isn't it beautiful? Now, each sign has the responsive card and the reactive card. We're avoiding positive and negative because we're trying to get away from that kind of mindset.
Yeah.
So, because sometimes it's okay to be reactive, right? Yeah. It's kind of funny. We've taken purity culture and put it into spirituality. And if you're in a spiritual group or a healing circle, a lot of times people are like, you're in resistance.
Yeah.
Or you're being reactive. And that's just like, hey, sinner. And so I sometimes it's okay to be pissed off, because if you're depressed, getting pissed off is the next best thing.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm over here just being fucking human today, folks. That's how that works.
Right. We're in a physical body for a reason. And that's the whole premise of the Call of Gaia. So a responsive Taurus is generative. not regenerative, but generative, and understands how to make things grow. And
Yeah.
so in order to make things grow in the soil, you have to disrupt it to plant the seeds, even in permaculture, right? Even if you're not tilling the soil. And a Taurus in their responsiveness does not put themselves down. Okay. I got a Taurus moon. It is about understanding your value. So even if the world is going to crap in a handbasket,
Yeah.
understanding your value is essential. And if you're going to move forward, if we're going to change society, you have to change inside of you to help move that change forward collectively, and understanding the rootedness and groundedness. Now, last week's podcast, I gave a mini meditation in the first segment to help bring grounding energy in, right? Because all hell breaks loose with this full moon, and we can be reactive and fearful of the change. We can clutch our pearls all we want, and it's not going to do a damn thing. We have to, in order to flourish forward, we have to ground in, and ground into what? Our spirit earth connection, and we are a conduit of that. So that's what's up. I love this deck.
It's very beautiful. And I'm sitting here like, I feel like she's talking to me right now.
Right?
And it's a Taurus, and like I'm Taurus moon.
Right,
so
Taurus moon.
like,
That's why I laughed when the card came out. I was like, oh, but
this
there's
is
Pluto.
sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
But it's for
beautiful.
everybody. Oh yeah, this is a cool deck. And
Well,
I'll show you the little. Oh my God, 20 years of thinking about how to teach this in a physical way. And this is esoteric astrology, which is a little more fun to teach, but I'll just show you the mat. So.
Oh, wow.
So this is not the tree of life. It is the birthing tree,
the colors.
Right? Isn't it beautiful? This is the birthing tree, and Gaia is in the center. So Earth is in the center. Each of the houses are rooms in this tree house. And
that's beautiful, Lori.
Come out. Yeah. Isn't it a cool thing?
It's really
Karen did a beautiful job. Yeah. So I can't wait. But the other thing we're going to do, and I'll talk about this later on the podcast, is every month I do the full moon ceremony where I channel universal love wisdom effectively to help people center their energy to withstand the full moons. Because each full moon this year has been packing a wallop. Yeah. So it correlates exactly.
August we have blue moon, don't we?
We have a blue moon. Yeah. Yeah. We start the month and end the month with full moons. And the first one, the one that starts us off, is very chaotic energy. And not just because it's Aquarius, it's because that's square to Jupiter. So everything will seem larger in the mirror. And the next one, which is the Pisces full moon, it's also volatile, but a little different. There's a slight resolution to that one, but we'll see. We'll see. It's I'm calling August. Yeah, it's a full moon sandwich month. That's what I'm calling it. So, guys, if you want to take Carrie's class, I'll have the links in the descriptions on both YouTube and Spotify. If you just, whatever podcast, your tool you're listening on, check out the show notes for the links. And you can study with Carrie. You can book readings with Carrie. I highly recommend. She has read me to filth.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So much love.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I love you back, girl.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Give the heart hands. I love you so much, and it's always good having you. You were my very first podcast guest back in the day.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, yeah. I remember that. I can't remember who I was telling that to, but yeah, I remember being your your first one. It's like,
You
hell
were my
yeah, why
very
not?
first guest. Yeah, we're going to do this more often. So we'll have you back
Absolutely.
as
And when I
well.
get to 1,000 on TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
we can do one of those, what are they, joint lives or something like
Joint
that?
lives. We could co-host a live. I would love that. So I would like everybody to follow Medium Carrie Wilson on TikTok so I can go live with her. That would
Thank
be
you.
freaking awesome. Been bugging her forever. I was so excited to see your videos.
Yeah, like, Aubrey's kicking me in the butt. Like, all right, get on TikTok. Let's do it. She's got me a whole like list. She's a Sagittarius, if that tells you
Good.
anything. So
Good.
she's
Kick you
trying to keep
forward.
me in gear. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you're invaluable and you are very loved. So
Well, thank you
I'm
so
so
much.
excited for you.
Thank
Mwah.
you. All right. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, I've got a question from Miranda, and it is, which planets represent your mother and father in an astrology chart? So this can be really interesting. Traditionally, the biological mother is seen through the moon, and the biological father is seen through Saturn. However, I have found through experience that the moon represents the nurturing parent, and Saturn represents the parent that holds more authority, the more authoritarian parent. And sometimes it's the same person. So if you have a single parent, you'll see, maybe dad plays mom and dad roles, or mom plays dad and mom roles. Either way. And yet at the same time, the moon and Saturn do represent the biological parent. You also see the sun sometimes playing the role of father in a more nurturing, playful sense. So I know it gets confusing. There's no one pat answer because we live in a vastly changing world, but we do see the biological parents as the moon as mother, or the maternal line, and Saturn as the father, biological father, or paternal line. So it really depends. When we get into reading at that depth, there's a lot. It's like French. There's a lot of exceptions. So great question though, Miranda. Thank you. Alrighty. As I squint at you, I'm not making faces at you. I am just, I am just dealing with it. All right. Oh, let's see. Kendra asks, what are my top picks for the three most significant natal transits everyone will likely see in their lifetimes, and what might make them each significant in a person's life? Oof. Well, at the risk of oversimplifying, the Saturn square, the whole of the Saturn cycle is very, very significant. That is most likely what people will face. Everyone. Not everybody faces Pluto transits, because Pluto can spend as little as 11 years in a sign and as much as 40. So, people born at the, end of Pluto in Aquarius probably will not see a Pluto square like we see today. And most of us born between 1939 and the present, or let's say to the 90s, have seen that. Right? Or we'll see that. So it would be the Saturn cycle, where you have your first Saturn square at about 7, and then the opposition at 14, and then the next square is at about 21, and the Saturn return is at around 28, 29. That's probably the most significant, because it's like a clock. You gain understanding and perspective of what it is to deal with authority and find your own authority. You might make up your mind about who you want to be and how you want to be in the world, or what you think you can and cannot do. So I think the Saturn cycle. Uranus transits, not everybody lives to see the full cycle for Uranus. But I think if you live to see your Uranus opposition in your mid-40s, that's pretty significant. If you decide to grab life by the balls, you're going to have a great one. If you fight that and you just decide to buy a sports car or have a midlife crisis and you don't make the big changes in your life, what I've noticed is people kind of age pretty rapidly. Whereas if people kind of decide, I'm going to just be authentically myself and live life like I've never let myself really live it before, you just see people kind of almost de-age in some ways, but also people, what is my hair doing? But people actually live more uniquely and more authentically inside of themselves. So there's that. Those would probably be my picks. I think people make too much of these things. I think people over dramatize these things. I think people over doomify these things. Yes, I just made that word up. Doomify. We're not here to have perfect lives. I don't know why people think that childhood is supposed to be, la 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 la. We're born in a physical realm that has challenges. We don't choose our traumas, but we are equipped to navigate life in our charts. So I don't believe we ever choose a trauma at all. I don't think it makes us better people. I don't think it makes us stronger. I don't. I think it doesn't help us the way people have used it as an excuse, but our souls use every experience to grow and learn. So it's not like we need to suffer, right? There's a great statement that I love that is, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Those Saturn transits give us a chance each time to tweak and adjust and recalibrate. We're not stuck at the Saturn return. Like if you don't get your lesson, you're screwed at the second Saturn return. That's not true. You'll then go again through the square to Saturn, and then you'll have the opposition, and then you'll have the next square, and so on and so forth. There's always a chance to recalibrate. There's always a chance to grow and learn and change direction. I don't think we're ever stuck. We're only stuck if we think we're stuck. So those are the big transits that most everybody goes through in a lifetime if you live to those ages. Oh, whoop, I lost my page here. Uh-oh. All right, I gotta quit out of some of these. Got too many things open, I tell you. Too many tabs open. Let's see what else we got. So many questions here, guys. So many questions. I'm remembering to delete the questions now that I've already answered. Let's see. Heather asks, what are possible events and conditions that can occur when Saturn transits over the IC? And for those of you new to astrology or just starting to learn, the IC is the beginning of the 4th house. You could buy a new home. You could move location. You could get very serious about creating a family. It depends on how old you are when it's happening. If you're young, there might be changes in the home. You might have to move from your family home as a young person. If you're an adult with car keys and a job, you might be buying your first home or thinking about buying property. So it just depends on the individual, but those are some of the themes. We've got Saturn as part of this theme, I see, coming up on this podcast. I didn't plan that. I'm just picking these questions at random, and I do promise I will make some patron-only podcasts on this. I just didn't get to it. Lorena asks, can you discuss having Venus retrograde in your natal chart? Mine's in the 2nd house of Aquarius, conjunct Sun. And I thought, wow, great. Then I realized that though rare, for about 7 days, it was retrograde when I was born. It's cool. Retrograde actually isn't that big of a deal. I know people make it out to be a big deal. When you have a planet that's retrograde, it acts a little bit, if it's a dual ruler like Mercury or Venus. So Venus rules Taurus and Libra. So when it's in forward motion, it acts a little more like Venus, or like it does when it rules Taurus. And when it's retrograde, it's a little bit more like Libra. So it's looking at contracts, agreements, mutuality. And And then with it in Aquarius, when it's retrograde, it has a top note of Leo. So you're a little bit more passionate. You're a little more demonstrative when you're happy. It's very exuberant. Not that Venus in Aquarius can't be enthusiastic. It is. It's just a little different. You want what you want when you want it, and you go after it. So that would be it. And yet you're looking at, you like it to benefit more than just yourself. You're not just going after your own security. You want the people in your life, or the important people in your life, to benefit from it too. And that's a driving force for you. So that's what that would mean. Oh, that was a good one. Thank you, Lorena. Let's see. I'll do one or two more because I kept this episode short. But guys, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. And we're coming into a full moon sandwich. Man, I can feel that. This is a good one. This is from Alyssa. What are the best ways to handle Pluto transits? Are they always negative? Well, if you listen to the internet, they are. Gosh darn it. No, Pluto transits can be power-ups. They can be some of the most powerful transits you experience. And I've lived through major Pluto transits my entire life. It'll be 2026 before I go without a major Pluto transit. I will be 57 years old. And I don't know what life will be like without that kind of intensity. So with a Pluto transit, the best way you can go about it is to just let things go away. Don't try to force things to work. Don't try to control circumstances. Things that you think are important might go away. The younger you are, the more intense these experiences are. But what's being shed doesn't serve you, whether it's relationships, jobs, living situations. It might look bad at the time, but it leads to better things. You're growing, you're evolving, and it was Pluto transits that led me to astrology. Like, that's what put me on the trail of seeking more and more information, because my life was getting really weird, really unstable, and it hurt. But the pain that you go through during a Pluto transit is the resistance to the letting go. You're trying to hold on. It's like a tower moment. It's just like what Carrie and I talked about in the interview. You're trying to hold on to things that need to go, whether it's a relationship, again, a job, an idea about yourself, identity, and that can hurt. But the more you try to hold on to something and fight it, the more it's going to hurt. So you have to kind of learn to let go. It's not quite a trust fall, but just take your hands off the situation and put your energy into what is working. So if it's working, it serves you. If it's not working, it doesn't serve you. And that's just my best advice for working through a Pluto transit. They are always to your benefit. They are not against your benefit, even if it seemingly looks not great. All right, I think I'm going to do one more, and you're going to be like, oh my God, this is like the shortest episode ever. I'm like, I know, but I am so sleepy. Are you guys sleepy? This might be because we're in the gibbous phase of the moon, because the full moon is on the 1st, and I'm just feeling tired. Lisette is asking, what is a lunar return? That's a really good question. I do these in my year ahead readings. I do the solar return, and a solar return is the chart for when the sun returns to the exact degree and minute it is in your birth chart, and that gives us a year-to-year overview of the theme. It's a divinatory chart, something we can look at your year ahead and say, okay, here's the theme. Lunar returns are when the moon returns to the exact degree and minute, and it makes up its own chart. Okay, exact degree and minute is in your birth chart. Sorry, I'll finish that sentence. And we use those charts to look at what your month is going to look like. So in a year ahead reading, I look at your solar returns, and I look at your lunar returns every single month for a year. Okay. And it happens every single month. And so how we how we read a chart like that is we look at the house where like in this case, the sun, or sorry, the moon for the lunar return. We look at the house it's in, and that's the emphasis. That's the main theme of the month, that area of life. So don't freak out if you have an 8th house lunar return, okay, or solar return. It just means there's going to be transformation and growth. All right, that's what that means. All right, it's not beginning astrology. I don't really support the idea of beginning astrologers diving into return charts. You can look at them with curiosity, but you don't read them the same way you do a natal chart. Okay, so divinatory astrology, it's a branch of mundane astrology, and it takes a lot of time and study to be proficient at it. Okay, I'm not gatekeeping. I'm just telling you, you're not going to be accurate if you're a beginner. So don't freak yourself out with it. All right. Let's see. One more. Let's see. I want to make sure I got to get to the right form. All right. Let's see. All right. We're going to get rid of that question. There we go. I'm getting rid of them as we go along. All right. Let's see. Amelia asks, what's the significance of transits to the midheaven, especially longer term planets like Saturn and Pluto? All right, well, let's talk about that. So first of all, Saturn only takes 2.5 years to move through a sign. It's not even close to a Pluto transit. It's every 2.5 years. So when Saturn crosses the midheaven, then if you've been doing the work, and I mean doing the work, not just thinking you've done the work, but you've really done the work, you reap the rewards of it. If you've been putting in the time and the study and you've been doing what you need to do, you'll be rewarded. You'll reap the benefits. If you haven't been doing the work, you're going to face the consequences. So if you've let imposter syndrome get the best of you and you haven't put your best foot forward and you haven't spoken up in meetings and you haven't tooted your own horn and you've just kept your head down and did your job, well, you're going to get passed over for promotion. Or if you really haven't done the work, you're going to be removed from a position. So that's why I've been saying Trump will not be president again. He broke too many rules. So he will be facing consequences because in his progress chart, Saturn will be transiting that midheaven. And that does not give him power at all. Pluto, not everybody has a Pluto transit across the midheaven. Pluto has an irregular orbit, so not everybody experiences that in a lifetime. But Pluto takes a lot longer to move through a sign. Saturn takes 2.5 years. The shortest time Pluto takes to go through a sign is 11, and that was when Pluto was in Sagittarius. And the longest it goes through a sign is 40 years, and that will be when Pluto is in Taurus. None of us will be alive to see that. That's 2135. Yes, the year 2135 is when Pluto will move into Taurus. So it just depends on the person. It can be a rise to power. It can be a complete change of career direction. You could transform your reputation. Somebody who's been not very nice might have a fall from grace. But people who, again, have been doing the work and showing up and making their presence known have an elevation in power when that happens. Uranus, there might be a complete 180 of direction in life. You could either gain or lose reputation very quickly. Neptune, you might have to follow your intuition a little bit more, and people might be divinely guided towards you as well. Those are all really good questions. I love you guys. I love the questions you keep bringing. And again, I'll answer more of these in Patreon so I can pare down that list. And I look forward to more questions from patrons to share here on the Awake Space Astrology Podcast.